The first specific area that we're going to look at when it comes to catalog records for video recordings is the title and statement of responsibility area. And this is where you record the title of the item you're cataloging, as well as the names of the entities responsible for the intellectual content of the item. The first part of this area is called the title proper, which is sort of the main chunk of the title. And according to AACR2 Chapter 7, which is the video recordings chapter, we are told to transcribe the title proper as instructed in Chapter 1. So when you go to Chapter 1, we are told to transcribe the title proper as exactly as it appears on the item as to wording, order, and spelling, but not necessarily punctuation and capitalization. So let's take a look at an example. The title proper for this video recording, which again should come from the title screen, would be transcribed this way: the man who never was. And AACR2 capitalization rules state that the first word and any proper nouns should be capitalized, but other words should not. So the is the only word with a capital letter in this title proper. Here is another example of a streaming video, and its title is Dinosaur Wars. Again, the title proper is Dinosaur Wars with a capital letter for the first one and a lowercase letter for the second word. In a MARC record, the title and statement of responsibility goes in 245 field, and the title proper specifically goes in subfield A. Now you'll notice a couple of things with the indicators in these two examples of 245 fields. The first indicator is used to indicate whether or not the title is an added entry. Most of the time for video recordings, there won't be one single person who will get the main entry as being responsible for the intellectual content, so the title will be the main entry. So that is the case for both of these. When the title is the main entry, the first indicator is 0. If the title was to be an added entry, the first indicator would be 1. Now the second indicator is used for what is called non-filing characters. It indicates non-filing characters to the computer. And basically this means it tells the computer how many characters to skip in order to alphabetize the title starting with the first real main word of the title. So if you have a word like a, an, or the, you want to tell the computer to skip those characters when filing the title alphabetically. So in this case, for the first one, we have the word the, and you want to tell the computer to skip T, H, E, and the space. So that's 4 characters that need to be skipped. If it started with the word a, you would want to tell it to skip 2, so that would be your second indicator. In the second case, the second indicator is 0 because there are no non-filing characters that need to be skipped. Now sometimes you will see items that not only have a title, but they also have a particular number or a particular name for a part of an item. They are just a part of a whole, basically. So in this case, Scrubs is the title proper, but the complete first season is the number of the part. Or in this case, we have a DVD that has 1 episode of a miniseries. The episode is episode 3, so there's the number, but it also has a name, Our Language. So we would have Jazz for the title proper, episode 3 for the number, and Our Language for the title of the part. Now in a MARC record, remember we're still working with the 245 field. Numbers of a part go in subfield N, and the name of a part goes in subfield P. So you would have the title proper followed by a period, then subfield N with the number, and if there is a subfield P, there would be a comma after subfield N before that subfield P with the name of the part. The next part of this area of description is the general material designation. And this is basically a term that tells you what type of item you're cataloging, or it tells the patron when they're looking at your record what type of item they're looking at. We use this for anything that's not a print item. We don't use text, but we use it for non-print items, such as video recordings. This is something that will go away if the new cataloging rules RDA are adopted, and we'll talk about what will replace that a little bit more next week. But for now, we're going to do this under AACR2, so we're going to include GMDs. There's a list of terms provided in AACR2 of what you can use in this particular area. The one that will mostly concern you is video recording, all one word together. That is what most video recordings are considered. The one exception would be streaming videos, which are referred to as electronic resources in the GMD. The GMD appears in square brackets after the title proper. So here would be the examples for The Man Who Never Was and Dinosaur Wars, which we looked at earlier. Remember, Dinosaur Wars is a streaming video, so that's why it has electronic resource. The one exception to the GMD following the title proper is if you do have a part with a name or a number, and so in that case the GMD follows those two aspects of this area, the name of the part or the number of the part or both. And here is how the GMD would appear in a MARC record. We're still in the 245 field and the GMD goes in subfield H. And there's no punctuation between the subfield H and whatever precedes it. And then the name of the GMD just goes in square brackets in subfield H. The next part of the title and statement of responsibility area is for other title information, usually a subtitle, and that's what we're going to focus on here. But could it also occasionally be used for a parallel title, which is when an item has the same title in more than one language, but we're going to focus on it as a subtitle in this case. So here is a streaming video. Here's its title frame. 30,000 feet is the title proper, and frequent flyer is the subtitle. So in this case, the subtitle goes after the GMD, and there's a space, colon, space, and then the subtitle. Notice that the first word of the subtitle is not capitalized unless it's a proper noun. And the other title information goes in subfield B of your 245 field in a MARC record. The last part of this title and statement of responsibility area is the statement of responsibility. Again, this is for entities who are responsible for creating the intellectual content of the work that you're cataloging. For video recordings, you will see this used for things like the production company or agency, an agency for which the film is produced. And as far as personal names go, you'll have the name of the producer, the director, and perhaps the writer. So here are the opening credits from a movie called The Enemy Below. You see we have the name of a production company with 20th Century Fox. We have the writer. It says screenplay by Wendell Mays. The producer and the director is Dick Powell. And so when you put all those together, that is your statement of responsibility. The production company, the writer, and the producer and the director. Notice that each of these separate entities, because they have different roles, they are separated by a space, semicolon, space. So there's one after the production company and another one after the writer's name. And their roles are stated exactly how they're stated in those opening credits. That is your chief source of information for this information. And the statement of responsibility goes in a subfield C in your 245 field. And I should have mentioned before the space / space that precedes a subfield C. Make sure to include that. And have a period at the end of your 245 field because the statement of responsibility is the very last thing that should be included in this area.